Hi everyone, welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. My name is Artem, and here is the news. 530 days less the Russian invasion of Ukraine. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky informed that Russia shelled with Iskander missiles residential areas of the city of Pokrovsk, Donetsk region. About 40 minutes after the first strike, Russian forces launched more missiles, hitting the first responders on the scene. At the moment, it is known about at least 7 killed, including deputy head of the State Emergency Service in Donetsk region, Colonel Andriy Melchenko, and 57 wounded, many of whom are rescuers and police officers, reports Suspilne. A rescue operation is underway. Volodymyr Zelensky said that Ukraine managed to return 22 more of its military from Russian captivity in another exchange. 20 of them are soldiers and sergeants, 2 are officers. The president stressed that Ukraine will do everything to bring back all its people who are now in Russian captivity. Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, General Valery Zaluzhny, had a phone call with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, reports Radio Liberty. Zaluzhny stressed that Ukrainian defenders are holding the initiative in the offensive and that the Russians are trying to distract Ukrainian forces from certain areas of the front by active assault operations. He said that the enemy is conducting active assault actions on a number of fronts but is not succeeding. Regarding the offensive, heavy fighting continues and Ukrainian troops step by step continue to create conditions for advancing. Zaluzhny and Milley also discussed the current needs of the armed forces for weapons and ammunition. Zaluzhny thanked the partners for their help and support. We would really appreciate if you could rate us, ideally with 5 stars, and leave a glowing review in the apps where you are listening to this podcast: Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and others. This really helps more people to find out about the highlights from Ukraine and truth about Russia's invasion. The US intends to announce the allocation of $200 million in new military aid to Ukraine on Tuesday, August 8, reports Ukrainska Pravda. This package will include inter alia demining equipment, TOW and AT-4 anti-tank weapons, ammunition for Patriot anti-aircraft missile systems, GMLRS and Javelin anti-tank missiles. According to Reuters sources, the Biden administration is beginning to distribute $6.2 billion in funds discovered after the Pentagon's accounting error overestimated the cost of aid to Ukraine. In May, the Pentagon announced that it had mistakenly determined the cost of US military aid to be higher than warranted when staff used replacement value instead of depreciated value to count the billions of dollars of ammunition, missiles, and other equipment sent to Ukraine. The release of these identified funds is significant because they are the last of $25.5 billion previously approved by Congress that the administration can use to send military aid from US stockpiles. Washington is currently working on an additional budget request to continue aid to Kyiv, the officials added. The US also approved the first batch of Abrams tanks, which will be sent to Europe this week, and they will arrive to Ukraine in early autumn, reports European Pravda. According to the Pentagon, tanks will be sent with ammunition, spare parts, fuel equipment, and repair equipment. The US began training Ukrainians on tanks in May in Germany. According to media sources, training is planned to be completed by the end of summer. Thank you for listening to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast. We are a commercial initiative of just 2 people and we need your help to grow. Share information about the podcast, rate us in the app, subscribe to our Patreon. With your support, we are getting better. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.